Welcome to my channel. In a previous video I had shown you how to mix up your own fabric paints using pure pigment and a colorless medium called extender in some countries, or it could also be known as CLEARCUT or emulsion. It's basically just a transparent jelly-like liquid that you use to mix pigments in. So if I give you an analogy, if you're baking a cake, you'll have batter which is colorless or maybe sort of white looking because it's got flour in, and then as you add your food coloring in, the color will change depending on what you've added. So what I'd like to do is to talk you through just this book that I made when I had my shop. I had a shop for 25 years plus, and I used to mix up a range of fabric paints there, and I'm just going to share with you some of the tips, because you don't need a lot of different colors in terms of your pigments to be able to mix a lot of different colors to make up your fabric paints. Does that make sense? So if we started with fabric paints and you could work out your own measurements, I would take 1 liter of the extender, which is the clear colorless emulsion, and I would mix 3 tablespoons of red pigment. Now you can buy these pigments from either a screen printing supply. Sometimes you can get them at the hardware store. They use them for tinting paints for your walls, but the medium that you mix them into is going to determine what the color looks like. So in a hardware scenario, quite often the colors are mixed into an opaque white base, which means that if you're mixing red in, it's actually going to go clear. But you can buy clear tinting base at the hardware store as well, but that's for walls, for acrylic paints. So let's get back to this. We've taken 1 liter of the clear extender and we've mixed in 3 tablespoons of red pigment. Now I always use the cake measuring spoons because they're accurate, and I like to use those because I knew each time that I was getting an accurate measure. You could take something less than this. You could maybe take half a liter of extender and 1.5 tablespoons of red pigment, or 1/3 of a liter of extender and 1 tablespoon of pigment. You can mix it up as you want. But I found when I had a liter of the base color, I was then able to change the colors by adding more of the extender, because the extender is going to make the color more transparent. Just as if you had mixed more dough into your mixture that was a dark color, it would get lighter. So then if I wanted to progress my color from the red, I would take 1 liter of extender and mix 1 tub of red fabric paint into that. So this would be the fabric paint that I had already mixed there, and I used to decant them into 100 ml tubs. So it would be 1 liter of extender with 100 ml of the red fabric paint, and I would get this lovely color here called watermelon. If you have a look at it a bit more closely, you will see it is quite a lot more transparent than the original color. Then I could take 1 liter of white fabric paint, and to make white fabric paint you actually need to have opaque white fabric pigment. So we'll get to that just now. But I took 1 liter of white fabric paint, and then I mixed 1 tub of the red fabric paint, which had the transparent base, into it, and then I would get this color, which is slightly more opaque. And then if I took 1 liter of white fabric paint and 1 tub of the watermelon, which was that second color, I could get a very similar color to the pink. So we call that rose pink and the one plain pink. The plain pink is more opaque. With all colors, when you are mixing them, you will notice that there are different shades of a similar color. So this was a red pigment that I mixed in here, but I could also get a crimson pigment through one of my screen printing suppliers, and it had a slightly more pinky red color as opposed to red. You also get quite orangey reds as well. So whatever your base color is going to determine the colors that you're going to mix. And your primary colors are red, yellow and blue. So with those you can mix a lot of different colors, but you get different reds, you get different yellows, you get different blues. So that's why it's quite nice when I had staff to have a book that we just made up like this, so that each person could pick up the book and be able to, with confidence, mix up the paints. Not everybody was experienced as the previous person. Then let me just stick with the primary colors for now. When you come to your blues, you will see that here I've mixed up 2 different color blues. I've got ultramarine, which is this more electric blue, and I've got what they call a plain blue. So again, I start off with 1 liter of extender, and I mix in some ultramarine pigment. So this is normally 50 grams of pigment or 2 tablespoons. And then from that ultramarine, sorry, let me just stick with one color at a time. If I took 1 liter of extender and I mixed 1 tub of ultramarine, which was ready mixed, which is that mixture. And remember, I said that I decanted them into 100 ml tubs. So it'd be 1 liter of extender, 1 tub of ultramarine, which is 100 ml of the ultramarine paint. I got what I call periwinkle blue. And then if I took 1 liter of white fabric paint, which is not the base, it's the white paint, and I mixed 1 tub of the ultramarine, so it's white plus the ultramarine, which is that, I got this very pale blue. Okay, then if I had to take the regular blue fabric pigment, 1 liter of extender and 3 tablespoons of the pigment, which is called blue LBS. It'll be something different in your country, just depending on where you get it from. That is the shade that I'd get, which is quite dark and it's quite intense. But you can see here immediately, if I was going to paint something to do with the ocean or waves or water, if I took 1 liter of extender, which is the clear colorless medium, and I mixed 1 tub of blue fabric paint, which is 100 ml, into that extender, I would get this color here, and it's much more transparent than that. So if you are doing something watery, it's rather nice. For this one, I took 1 liter of white fabric paint. Remember, this is not transparent base, it's white, it has color. And I mixed in a tub of the bright blue, which was that. So I've taken 100 ml of that paint and 1 liter of white, and I get this lovely ocean blue color. But you can definitely see that that is more opaque than the transparent colors. So the ocean blue is more transparent. And then if I took 1 liter of white fabric paint, remember that's got color, and I mixed in 1 tub of the ocean blue, which was also had white in it, I'm going to get what I called a baby blue. Then let's jump over to the yellows. Okay, so normally in paints you're going to get probably 2 distinctive yellows. There are many other shades, but 2 that are most common. One is very acid yellow called a lemon yellow, and then you get one which is called a plain yellow, and sometimes you are able to get one which is a slightly golden yellow, which is like that. So if I had to take 1 liter of extender and mix in 3 tablespoons of my lemon yellow pigment, that is the color I would get. Unfortunately, I don't know why we didn't make a swatch for this one, but if I took 1 liter of white paint and I mixed in 1 tub of the yellow, which is that, I would get this lovely lemonade color. And it was very pretty, but I'm sorry, I don't have a swatch for that, and I don't have the paints here because I've moved countries, so I'd have to start all over again, and I'm not doing that right now. Okay, this one, which is a slightly different yellow, you take 1 liter of extender, your clear transparent base, and 3 tablespoons of plain yellow pigment, and you get that yellow. If I took 1 liter of white paint, white being a color, and I mixed in 1 tub of the yellow paint, which is 100 ml of that yellow, I'm going to get this lovely vanilla color. So when you have your 3 primary colors, if you start mixing them together to create other colors, the tonal value of the color that you start with, in other words, whether I choose to start with a plain yellow or a lemon yellow, whether I start with an ultramarine or a plain blue, or whether I start with that plain red or the crimson, that's going to determine the shades that we work with. So now let's have a look at some of the other colors that you can mix using what we've got. Sorry, I just want to use the colors where we're mixing with the colors that we have. Right, so this is a good example. For the sea green color, I took 1 liter of my extender, my colorless base, and I added 1 tub of my lemon yellow paint, which was probably over this way. 1 tub of my lemon yellow, which is that color, and 1 tub of blue paint. And if we go back here, that's my blue paint. So it was that particular blue with the acidy lemon, and then I get this lovely sea green color. And then if I took a liter of extender and 1 tub of that color, which is 100 ml of that color, I get this very pale color, and this is very much more transparent. So that's one way that you could use colors. If I was taking something else, I took a liter of extender for this one, 1 tub of yellow paint. Yellows are this way, hey? 1 tub of yellow, which is this deeper golden color. Can you see that? And then 1 tub of blue paint, which was that. So that blue and this yellow, as opposed to the lemon yellow, will give me that emerald color. Now this was quite nice to play with, because if I took 1 tub of that, which is 100 mils, and 1 liter of extender, then you can play around and get different colors. But I could take 1 liter of extender, 1 tub of ultramarine blue, which is that one, the more electric blue, and sorry, I'm flipping around here, but just to show you, and 1 tub of lemon yellow, which is more acid. Then I'm going to get this spring green color here. And by playing around with the different colors, you can see quite happily that you are able to create more transparent shades. If you add more color into something, it's going to get darker. If you add more extender into something, it's going to be more transparent. So I'm going to take you now back to the beginning of the book, and I'm just going to talk more simply about color and how you determine what colors you should be adding to your base. Think of color as being on a scale, like those old-fashioned weighing scales that the law firms use. If you add more pigment, it's going to get heavier and it's going to sink more into your fabric. If you add more base, it's going to get lighter. So that's quite a concentrated pigment in that base. This has got very little in this one. You do get colors in the spectrum which are very difficult to mix. These are colors where you actually need that specific pigment to get the clearness of that color. You will be able to mix up pink by mixing red and white, and you can mix up purples by mixing blue and red together. But to get these really, really clear, transparent colors that you have here, another one is the sort of cyan color. Let me just find that for you. That sort of turquoisey color that you'll break down. Those colors are really hard to mix to get clear colors. You'll get similar but not the same. So for these I used to just buy the pigments and I used to mix them up again. Same formula, a liter of extender, and this pigment came in 50 grams. So why they weigh liquids in grams, I don't know, but they did. So that was 50 grams of magenta pigment, and I made that concentrated color. Then if I took 1 liter of my clear extender and 100 mils of that magenta, I would get what we call Barbie pink. And by taking 1 liter of white fabric paint, remember white is a color, and I took 100 mils of the magenta, I would get that funky pink. Let me hold it close to you so that you can see that this one at the bottom here is opaque and that one is transparent. The same thing is with the purple pigments as well. You can mix them up using 50 grams of your violent pigment and then break the colors down to get different shades. This one has white in it, and these are just extender. Maroon is a color that you can usually mix up. It will tend to be really dark, so you'll mix it up and you'll think, oh gosh, I'm not going to use it a lot. But if you start adding more extender or your clear cut or emulsion, it's all the same thing. And gradually reduce it. You can go from that really deep color down to something that's more transparent. Quite nice sort of colors to play around with for grapes. And then if you've got a navy pigment, which again I used to buy, you can add that navy pigment, which is 100 liters, to 1 liter of extender, and you'll get this almost denim color, which is lovely to be able to use. It's really a good color for backgrounds if you have got something like a big tablecloth that you're doing. And if you then took 1 liter of white fabric paint, and again I'm saying white is a color, and 1 tub of the navy, which is the dark color, you get that pastel color, which is a slightly more opaque color than the jeans blue. We've done these blues here, we've done those turquoises and sea greens. Let's talk about olive. That's quite an interesting color. Again, I bought pigment and it comes in little bottles. This you could normally pick up at the hardware store. It's a color that they often use for mixing paints. And if you just ask where do you keep your pigments, you'll find them. I mean, I've found them all over the world, so I don't think you'll have any trouble, but you could probably order them online. You want a water-based pigment when you're buying one. So again, this is 1 liter of extender, which is transparent, mixed with some olive pigment. Very, very dark color, but the more you add your extender into it, the more transparent it becomes. So you have a great range of colors by adding in your base. Yellows we've done. Golden yellow was quite a nice color to work with because you could get quite a lot of different shades with that. And this was just 1 liter of the extender with 3 tablespoons of the golden yellow. Where I'm using the tablespoons because I used to buy the pigment in liter bottles as opposed to the small bottles, but that works out pretty much the same. And then I would take 100 mils of that color that I'd mixed up and mix it in with the 1 liter of extender to get that. And if I took 1 liter of white paint and I mixed 1 tub of that golden yellow, which is 100 mils, I would get that lovely sunshine yellow. Ochre, I'm sure you know, it's a mustardy pigment. I didn't have a swatch that I put here for some reason, but I took 50 grams of that and I mixed it in with 1 liter of extender to get that lovely soft oaty color. And then if you wanted to get a more creamy color, you would simply take 1 liter of white paint with a tub of the ochre, and then 2 liters of white paint with 1 tub of the ochre really made a lovely ivory color, and that is more opaque than some of the other colors. This sunset color we created, this is quite interesting because we used 2 different things here. We took a liter of extender, and then we took 1 tub, which is 100 mils of the golden yellow, which was this one, and then we took 1 tub of the red, which was that. So we took that red and we took that yellow and we mixed it together to get that lovely orangey color. So you think automatically, oh, I'm going to have to go and buy orange, but not necessarily, because if you look at that sunset color and this narchy color that we made using orange pigment, it's actually pretty similar. And then if we took a liter of the white paint and 1 tub of this mango, we would get this lovely custardy color. Orange, if you buy it as a pigment, is quite an intense color, so if you do really need a strong color, that's the way to go. But the minute you start adding in extender, it becomes more transparent, and this one had some of the orange, 100 mils of that, plus just a tint of red. And when I say a tint, we used to take a wooden kebab stick and just dip the point of that into the pigment to lift it out. The pigments are really strong, and yellows are weak colors, so they'll get overwhelmed by other colors very quickly, so you don't need a lot there. The apricot color, we took white fabric paint, which has already got a color, and 1 tub of the orange, which is that, to create that. And then we did this one, which is a deep scarlet. That's quite interesting because we took a liter of extender, which is the clear base, 2 tablespoons of the red pigment, and 3 tablespoons of the golden yellow to get that lovely deep scarlet. So if we compare it with the other reds that we already made, and you have a look, you can see that this one is much more orange and that one is much more pink. So you're still working with similar pigments, but you've actually got a whole range of colors. And then if we took a scarlet, if we took a liter of extender and we mixed a tub of red and some golden yellow, we could get that lighter scarlet. And then we could create the salmon by using a liter of white paint and 100 mils of that pre-mixed scarlet. We would play around sometimes with different colors, making a brick yellow by adding a couple of more pigments together. You can buy really easily at the hardware stores browns and ochres, those sort of colors that they use in building. So this was a liter of extender with some yellow brown pigment, and that created that lovely chestnut color. And then if we took 1 liter of extender and 100 mils of that chestnut, we got that lovely lighter brown. Then dark browns, again you'll find a lot of these pigments at the hardware store or at the screen printing supplies. A liter of extender and 3 tablespoons of the dark brown pigment give you that lovely intense color, but the minute you start adding in the extender, it's going to be colorless. And then also from the screen printing supplies, you can get a whole range of neon pigments. Those will normally come in little 50-gram bottles, and you can just take 1 liter of your extender and mix 50 grams in. Those are rather fun if you're playing around with kids. So that is my knowledge shared with you. I do hope that it's going to be helpful. I will put at the beginning of this video and probably at the end a couple of pictures of the things that we did when I showed you how to actually mix the paints. and I will put the link for that video at the bottom of this. Please, if you've got any queries or questions, just leave it in the comments section, and if you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to my channel. Bye for now.